Hey guys, I'm Heather, and I'm the oldest. She's the emotional one.
Is it Bruce Dickinson?
Man, why? I mean, like, you read the list. You're like, Heather.
Hey guys, I'm Ben. I'm the middle child.
And he's the practical one.
What I need you to understand is that you have lost all credibility when we get to the cutting stage.
Why?
Kenny Chesney was your second pick.
I'm Beth, and I'm the baby.
She's also the swing vote.
My picks are great. And if you don't believe it, just ask me. I won't argue with you because I'm mature.
Together, we make the Music List podcast. And we welcome you back to the Music List podcast, where we are three siblings that argue while making music lists. And we have had a pretty good start to 2023 and had some rough and tumble moments, man. I mean, we've gone after it. The arguments have been vast. We're going to try to lighten the mood. We're going to try to lighten it up a little bit. Last episode was breakup songs, and we almost broke up. This band almost broke up.
I need to take a break from my siblings.
Over Eric Clapton, of all things. We almost broke up, but we're back. We thought we'd lighten the mood. So we are going to try to make the list today. We're going to each draft 3, try to cut that total of 9 to 5. The best comedy music acts of all time. Now, this is relatively, I think most of these are going to be relatively new. You know, it depends on what old means to you, but I would imagine most of these are going to be from 1970s to now. Like when we say of all time, I don't think we're going to go be pulling out anybody from, you know, well, ooh, no, that would have been a choice. That would have been a possibility. So we'll see. But there's kind of been a proliferation of these in the last 15, 20 years, though, probably. And I think a lot of that is due to there's a lot more mediums out there to get your stuff out there. The internet has kind of changed the game a little bit. It's easier to get skits and sketches and stuff like that. So we'll just have to wait and see. But in case you're wondering, my name's Ben. I'm with my sisters, Heather and Beth, and we're going to try to get this show on the road here. And so when we were looking at comedy acts, I kind of struggled to find, well, there was a couple things that I struggled with. Number one,
I know.
trying to come up with the list, because, I mean, there's not just even though there's kind of been a proliferation of them, it's still not just this big, massive list of people that I would consider to be primarily music-based comedians or comedy acts that use music as their primary driving force or a primary driving source. But then number two, a lot of them are hilarious, but we try to keep this show PG to PG-13. Yep. And a lot of these groups don't have a lot of PG to PG-13 material. So that was another struggle. So what were you guys, did you guys have the same struggle that I did?
Yes. Very much.
So what were you looking for?
Same stuff.
No, I mean,
funny and just relatively clean.
I did not. I did not make that happen on the list. I'll be honest with you.
The 9 on here's like the 9 on my list. They're not. I would not even say mostly clean, but like there were some that I may have moved up because I figured that I could find at least one song that we could play for this show. Mm-hmm. And there were some that I would have moved that would have been a lot higher on my list, but I was afraid that I could not find, you know, so the list may be a little skewed towards, it may not be an accurate representation of the actual 5 funniest, because I moved some of mine down.
Oh, you did for that reason?
I did for that reason.
I didn't.
Yeah.
So,
I didn't either.
I didn't really factor that in a whole lot.
And I'll tell you which ones as they come up. But
yeah.
But like comedy is what different people find funny, I think is going to play in here. You know, some people like really offbeat humor. Some people like the absurd. Some people like you to, some people think getting down in the gutter is funny, and sometimes it is, But so like my list really it runs the gamut of different types of humor.
Yeah, I would say that mine does too, and some. It'll be interesting to see if some of them pass muster for being a music act
Really?
or a comedy music act.
Interesting. All mine are very musical.
It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. There's a couple that I may be a little worried about. Not that I, and that's even if I get to draft them. We'll just have to wait and see. But
Yeah.
So the way this works is we're going to have 3 rounds. The draft order for round 1 is Heather, Ben, and then Beth. Round 2 will be Beth, Ben, Heather, and then round 3, Heather, Ben, Beth. So without further ado, Heather, you get the first pick in the best comedy music acts episode draft.
Okay. My first pick is Flight of the Conchords. They're a duo from New Zealand, Brett McKenzie and Jermaine Clement. They had an HBO series from 2007 to 2009, and
that was hilarious.
It was so stinking funny. And they refer to themselves as New Zealand's 4th most popular guitar-based digibongo a cappella rap funk comedy folk duo, which pretty much covers it. So I had trouble picking a song, not because their stuff is particularly R-rated, but because their songs are so different. They cover so many different genres, and the subject matter would mostly go along with their episodes. They would just kind of break into song about what was going on in their episode. But the song that I chose,
Business Time.
I did not choose
No, that's a
Business
good
Time.
one,
I
though.
love
That's a good
Business
one.
Time.
Kids into slaves just to make
Issue.
cheaper sneakers.
Think about it.
But what's the real
Think
cost? Because the
about
sneakers don't seem that much cheaper. Why are we still paying so much for sneakers when you got little kid slaves making them? What are your overheads?
At the end of your life, you were lucky if you died.
You're lucky if you die at the end of your life.
I wonder why I would even try.
Why?
I saw a man lying on the street, half dead. He had knives and forks that cut out.
I love this part. He says,
It's the best. This coming part is my favorite.
Somebody get the knife and fork out of my leg, please.
"Oh, I
It's
love
right
it."
here.
Yeah.
Could somebody please remove these cutleries from my knees?
So, I almost chose the most beautiful girl in the room,
Yeah.
in the whole wide room. Business Time, Leggy Blonde.
Leggy.
There's so many. And
That album is so
it's
good.
so good and pretty clean.
Pretty much, yeah.
There's
There's what's that one that sounds bad? That it. Oh, geez, what is it? It's the one where they go to the ATM. And all their money and their ish. Oh man,
I don't remember. Or I'm not crying.
too many mother uckers. They like censor themselves. They take out the
Ucking with my
shit. Ucking with my shit. Maybe I shouldn't have said that, but anyway.
like I'm not crying. It's just been raining on my face. Just their stuff leans toward the absurd, and I'm here for it. So
And I guess they had a live special or something,
Yeah.
which I think that
Yeah.
probably came from. But like even in between songs, I mean, they're hilarious.
they're so dry.
Jermaine is so funny. Like in what's that movie? Dinner for Schmucks.
Yeah.
Man, he's so funny.
So I was really disappointed when that show ended.
And now Brett's making like legit music, not joke music. He actually like titles his album basically like these are serious songs. But I haven't listened to them. They might the gag is they might actually
And
be
they're
jokes. I don't know.
actually really good musicians. They
are.
I mean, so I struggled with where they went, and my top 3 just kept moving around, but I landed with them being first. So
Okay, that's a good pick. Well, I'll say that later. But so my first pick then is going to be Tenacious D. Tenacious D is a comedic rock duo made out comprised of Jack Black and Kyle Gass.
this song, what?
This is Tribute, which is not the greatest song in the world. Just a tribute.
Tribute.
I mean, they're hilarious,
Long time ago, me and my brother Kyle here,
and they're not brothers, by the way.
we was hitchhiking down a long and a lonesome road. All of a sudden,
Love the storytelling.
there shined a shiny demon.
Dave Grohl in the video.
In the middle of the road.
And he said,
I love this voice. The
Ben,
best song in
Ben,
the
I
world.
need you to-
Well, eat your souls.
There it is.
Oh my gosh.
we looked
So
at each other.
interesting stuff about
And we each said,
this particular duo
and we played
is they sold out Madison Square Garden. Madison Square Garden. Now, they won a Grammy. A Grammy
Yeah.
for best comedy album? No. Best metal performance.
Yeah.
Not for comedy.
Yeah.
They won it for the best metal performance. So Jack Black is incredibly talented.
Oh my gosh.
Both, yeah.
Both of them, but yeah,
Incredibly
Jack Black
talented.
is stupidly
and
talented.
they play off each other so well because Jack Black is this crazy wild man, and Kyle plays it
He's a
so
straight
close,
man.
straight faced, kind of a guy. And Kyle looks like he could be an accountant, you know, right? Because like a lot of times Jack Black will be on stage with all this crazy stuff, and Kyle will be like on with a polo and like cargo shorts.
Yeah, he does.
And you know, like the little sandals you wear to the lake or something. But they're actually really good musicians. They use a lot of techniques that a lot of the major rock bands use. You know, the songs Karate is hilarious.
Oh
So
my god.
I wish I could play
Me
karate,
too.
but I can't. Insert verb her gently.
Yeah.
oh my
is
gosh.
Oh my god.
absolutely
Have
hilarious.
you heard their version of Wicked Game by Chris Isaac?
I don't know that I have.
Oh my gosh, I like it better.
Don't
Jack
know that I
Black's
have.
vocal is
But he's,
Unreal.
I guess a lot of people think he's funny, but I mean, and I know musicians can appreciate his ability to sing, but that dude's vocals
Yeah.
are off the charts.
Right.
right.
And I feel like, I don't feel like enough people
And the guitar
talk about
playing.
that
Kyle
because he
Gass's
has all
guitar
these
playing.
crazy antics, and that kind of seems to overshadow it sometimes. But he does amazing things with his voice.
Yeah.
But they got a ton of albums. I mean, they got a ton of albums, and they made their own movie.
Yeah.
They had
Oh, yeah.
they had their own television show.
Pick of Destiny.
I mean, these guys have. They've put together
yeah.
a multifaceted career around what they do, and then of course Jack Black has just kind of gone into a different level of superstardom on his own
Yeah.
in other movies. Plug Bernie, you know.
Go watch
you know,
that movie.
Go watch that movie. Our dad was in that movie, so
Yeah.
that's a selfish thing, but it actually is a hilarious movie.
It's a funny movie.
But
Do you also have a fondness because Kyle was in Elf?
Elf.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. You know, and he, both of those guys are tremendous actors. I mean,
Yeah.
they really
funny.
are. I mean, School of Rock. How good is School of Rock? It's a great movie.
I've heard they're making a sequel.
So, you know, I just think that they write great lyrics. They're actually extremely good musicians.
Yeah.
and they've been able to kind of turn their little empire into more than just music. They've transitioned it into TV and movies, and I think they're a legitimate candidate for number one overall. But there's probably about 5 that are legitimate candidates for number one overall. But I've been thinking they were funny for a long, long time. Long time. Beth.
All right. My first pick is Weird Al. There it is.
Amish Paradise.
Rest in love, Coolio.
I'm glad they patched things up before.
As I walk through the valley where I harvest my grain, I take a look at my wife and realize she's very plain. But that's just perfect for an Amish like me. You know I shun fancy things like electricity. At 4:30 in the morning I'm milking cows. Jebediah feeds the chickens and Jacob plows.
Fool.
And I've been milking and plowing so long that
Even Ezekiel thinks that my mind is gone.
I'm a man of the land. I'm into discipline.
So obviously, Weird Al is a parody guy, and that is different than it's different than everybody else on my list. And he's kind of set apart in that fact. There aren't a lot of people who do that or do it well. But he's also incredibly talented as a lyricist, comedian, a musician. His career began at age 16 in 1976, so that's a 47-year career, and still going pretty strong. I mean, he just had that movie release, which I haven't seen it. I know, Heather, you have. But he utilizes also, again, music videos. That's kind of part of what makes what he does. So the songs are kind of funny. Like Amish Paradise, I would listen to it and have listened to it on repeat just because I think it's that funny. But a lot of his songs are helped along very much by the video. Yeah. And so he's also directed videos for multiple artists. I mean, he's just a multi-talented person. He started kindergarten a year early and skipped second grade and graduated valedictorian at age 16, and he has a degree in architecture. So, you can tell that he is incredibly intelligent from his writing. He's really clever, and he's a Christian, so his stuff is clean and it's family friendly. You can enjoy it with your kids. There's no really concern about what you're gonna just hear. If you're like, oh, the new Weird Al's out. I don't know. He hasn't had new stuff in a while, I don't think. But you could turn it on and be comfortable with checking it out for the first time with your kids, which I can't say for everybody on my list. But yeah, I mean, he's like Dave Grohl in the fact that he just enjoys so much what he's doing, and he appreciates the opportunities that he's been given. And if you can hear him just talk about his career, he kind of can't believe that he's had the success that he's had. And I think that's cool. He just seems like a really nice and cool person who just thinks, hey, I've had a lot of opportunities to do some cool stuff. I watch Hot Ones religiously. So he had an episode, it was pretty recently, as I think he was plugging the movie. And just to hear him talk about his career and to answer their questions, you can tell how much he thinks about what he does, but also how he's just kind of like a kid of wow, this is happening to me. He still has kind of that childlike wonder. So I think he just seems like a cool guy, and I like I like parody also. So that's kind of
Well, you got to have some guts to take a hit song.
Yeah, you do.
And put your own funny lyrics in there.
Yeah.
And his parodies are so funny, but one of my favorite things that he does are his polkas.
Oh,
where
yeah.
he takes the songs and puts them in a polka medley,
Yeah.
which just, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, his musicianship is really impressive on those.
So I got to wonder, because you grew up also with another parody, shall we say, genius. I wonder if one Cletus T. Judd will pop up on
my gosh, I
on your
forgot
list.
about him. I should have put him on my list.
She's got a butt bigger than the Beatles. Remember that one?
Oh, Cletus T. Judd, man.
Huh?
His videos were something
They were
else,
pretty.
too.
They were pretty good, right?
Oh, man.
He did not even cross my mind. So
He didn't for
Really?
me either.
Yeah, he really did.
I totally forgot about that guy.
How do you forget
if Shania was mine. How can you possibly forget that? Or please take the girl.
Please.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Man, that takes me back.
Now you're wishing you'd have rewrote that list a little bit,
No,
didn't
not really. I get another
you?
pick.
You do. You get another
Well,
pick.
how about that? So I got another Christian guy, and that's going to be the end of that for my picks. So I've got Ray Stevens for my second pick. His career began in
You did go country.
Yeah, his career began in 1957, so he has had a 66-year career. Wikipedia says he's still active. I don't really know about that. I mean, he's still alive. So in that sense, I guess maybe. He's a member of the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame, the Georgia Music Hall of Fame, the Christian Music Hall of Fame, the Country Music Hall of Fame and Museum. He's got 11 Grammy nominations and 2 wins. So my best friend from childhood, Emily, and I, they had a VHS tape of Ray Stevens songs. It was Comedy Video Classics. And we watched that thing truly every time she spent the night at our house. And that was a lot of times. So we couldn't help but watch it. So we watched that from the time we were probably in like 5th or 6th grade until we graduated high school every single time she slept over. And I mean, he has like The Streak, Mississippi Squirrel Revival, what's the Christmas one?
Santa Claus is
It
watching.
Santa Claus? He's everywhere. Yeah. And then Sitting Up with the Dead scared the heck out of me every time. But we would still watch it. We would suffer through it.
Sure.
But man, that was scary as a kid.
I ain't sitting up with the dead
come
no
sit
more.
down here with me, boy, because you ain't getting out of here tonight.
I don't know
But at the
about
end-
you. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's so funny. But then he has like that song "Everything Is Beautiful," which is
Yeah,
a really,
It is a good song.
it's a really good song. I mean, it was at the end of that tape, and so we were like, okay, this is kind of boring because we were kids, but it's a really good song looking back. Yeah. So I love Ray Stevens, and we didn't even listen to it. Here you go. I've been loving him so much. I gotta
This
have
is
you
the
listen.
streak.
Yeah, this is a streak.
Yeah.
The supermarket. There seems to have been some disturbance here. Pardon me, sir. Did you see what happened?
Yeah,
I did.
I was just standing over there by the tomatoes, and here he come, running through the pole beans, through the fruits and veggies, naked as a jaybird. Ethel's over there in the jams, jellies, preserves, and pickles. I hollered over there. I said, "Don't look, Ethel!" She dropped a whole jar of kumquats and fell back into the sweet mixture. Hell, it's too late. She done been in.
Since.
Look at that, look at that.
Like he said, but it's too late.
And he ain't wearing no clothes. But yeah, this one and Mississippi Squirrel Revival. If you grew up in church,
Oh, yeah.
that song will hit you so hard.
Yeah.
Like, because you can just, the people that he describes in that song, you're just like, oh, I know that person.
Sister Bertha better than you.
Yeah.
And and then there's songs that are funny, but it'll make you think. Like, would Jesus wear a Rolex on his
Oh, yeah.
television
So
show?
good.
Yeah.
It's funny, but then it's like,
Wait a second.
but would Jesus
Would
wear a
it?
Rolex
Yeah.
on his television show?
I do have a fun fact.
It's time for a fun fact. Fun fact.
It's that on the end that kind of
It doesn't.
puts it over the top.
Thank you. I made that up myself. That's copyrighted.
Many years ago, before the internet, you would have to order your records on off the television, and there was a Ray Stevens Greatest Hits, and you had to dial the 800 number and order it, and then allow 6 to 8 weeks for delivery. And I really did have to wait 6 to 8 weeks for delivery, and it finally came, and I played that record over and over and over. But yeah, ordered it off K-Tel, I think.
Well, we saw Ray Stevens live in Branson in the Ray Stevens Theater. Did y'all? Were you?
I don't think I got to go.
I don't know.
I think I was working.
I was there, I think.
But you were little.
But I was
guess.
very little. I would barely remember it, unfortunately.
Yeah. But I mean, just some hilarious stuff. It's me again, Margaret.
Are you naked?
That one's a little.
Oh, my
That one
goodness.
was a little racy. I was like,
Little bit. Yep, that's good. That's good. He had some good lines in there. You know, if
There you go.
10% is good enough for Jesus, it ought to be enough for Uncle Sam. That's pretty good too. Yeah, I agree. Funny
right.
guy.
So is that it's you, Ben? I guess.
Ooh, okay. Here's one I'm curious about. How you guys are going to take this? It's Monty Python.
Okay,
Oh.
they were on my list.
So now Monty Python is generally considered to be a sketch act, right? I mean, they do these sketches. They've also then they went into movies, but along the way they figured out that if they do music as part of these sketches and they part of these movies, it adds a lot to it. And Monty Python they're very clever. It's very slapstick a lot of times, but it's very clever. And a lot of times it's very irreverent. Yep. Right? I mean, but here's the thing. In much the same way that South Park makes fun of everybody, Monty Python will make fun of everybody. So don't get your feelings hurt with Monty Python. Yes, they're making fun of you now. Just laugh, because they're going to make fun of everybody else down the road. That's just kind of the way that they have always done it. It's very British humor, which some Americans love and some Americans hate. You know, I can watch Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and my side will be laughing. I mean, we'll be hurting because I'm laughing so hard. And sometimes I've watched it with other people, and they just think it's stupid.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, I don't understand you, because this is like the funniest thing I've ever seen. I would put Monty Python and the Holy Grail like in my top 5 funniest movies of all time, probably. I really don't know how the rest of the world feels about it. You know,
it's very polarizing. I think people either just really love it or they can't stand it.
You know, but it's almost kind of like a mix between Saturday Night Live and a talent show. You know.
Make you mad. Other things just make you swear and curse. When you're chewing on life's gristle, don't grumble, give a whistle. And this'll help things turn out for the best. And always look on the bright side of life.
We'll have to cut this off here pretty soon.
Always look on
or we'll just have to bleep it some kind of way later on. Mark the time. It's only one word. That's the problem. It's one word.
Yeah. Yeah.
But just an incredible sense of humor. Of course, most people now, I would think, younger generations know Spam-A-Lot.
Yeah.
Which
is
the musical version of Monty Python and the Holy Grail. 14 Tony Awards they won.
It's so funny.
14, and a lot of the music was new because it was a musical, so they had to add stuff to it. But they actually took a lot of songs from other Monty Python. Well, like some of it was like the Flying Circus. They would take some songs from the TV show The Flying Circus, or they would take songs from The Life of Brian or something like this song. That was in The Life of Brian, and it makes its way into Spam-A-Lot.
Oh my gosh. The Lumberjack song.
Spam-A-Lot made $175 million.
My goodness.
Wow.
A musical on Broadway. More than 2 million people have watched it on Broadway.
It's really, really funny.
That's incredible. So, you know, to me, do you want longevity? Monty Python's got it. Staying power, Monty Python's got it. You know, I don't know that any of them actually play instruments, but just their lyrical cleverness and the ability to kind of play off of each other, for me, just makes them absolutely hilarious. And that's why I picked Monty Python.
Yeah, they were on my list too.
So, Heather, you get the last pick in round 2.
Okay. My number 2 pick is Spinal Tap.
That was the one I was really worried about. That was on my list.
It's on.
Talk about mud flaps.
My girls got them. So good. It's good. How could I leave this behind? So it's Christopher Guest, Michael McKean, and Harry Shearer, and have since, you know, together made tons more movies like Best in Show, A
Yeah.
Mighty Wind. A Mighty Wind.
Mighty Wind is funny.
Hilarious.
We watched that
For Your
recently.
Consideration. There's just tons of movies. This is Spinal Tap, came out in 1984. It is my favorite comedy movie ever. I don't even know. I could probably just quote the whole thing start to finish. And if you've ever been in a band, it's painful in its accuracy sometimes. The cast wrote the songs and performed the songs. They had a few albums after the movie came out. They're just just so many cameos, and so here's a short list of some of the session musicians they played with on some of their albums: Dweezil Zappa, Cher, Slash, Joe Satriani, Jeff Beck, who played on Break Like the Wind, Timothy B. Schmidt, Steve Vai, John Mayer, and Phil Collin from Def Leppard. So, I mean,
So funny.
they have played with legitimately some of the biggest names in rock and roll. Their movie is one of the most quotable.
Oh my gosh,
Just-
when they're
there's so many
standing
sound bites.
at Elvis's grave
God.
and they're singing Heartbreak Hotel. And they can't find the key.
Or when they're like trying to find the stage in Cleveland, and they, just, hello Cleveland, and they just keep getting lost. And I don't know how many times I've gotten to a gig, and my first thought was, if I've told you once, I've told them 100 times. It's Spinal Tap, then Puppet Show. You just because the whole thing is just absurd. Metallica even, kind of gave a nod to them on their Black album. So
Well, it was a Black album.
it was a Black album. It wasn't Smell the Glove, though.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I mean, and so many
So
cameos.
what do you call this particular piece?
we can't say that, but it's in D minor, the saddest of all keys. People weep instantly when they hear it.
Fallout Boy did, I think it might have been on Conan. They did the whole thing where they were in the pods and the pods didn't open.
yeah.
They did that on a late night show. I think it was Conan. And man, it was funny.
Can I
So
raise a practical
here's
question?
here's what I love
Are
about
we going to do Stonehenge tomorrow?
here's what I love about their Wikipedia page. So it lists all the musicians, and then drums actual.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it lists the
Stumpy
people
Pete.
that, and then it was like fictional and deceased.
Yeah.
And there's another long list.
I mean,
That's so funny.
and I just watched it.
Eaten by pet python, Cleopatra, Chris Papa Cadeau.
Does it have the one who spontaneously combusted?
Yeah.
It was a little green globule on his head.
Oh, right on the drum set. And the gardening accident.
Yeah, John Stumpy Pepys died in 1966. He died in a bizarre gardening accident that the authorities said was best left unsolved.
She's the one that choked on vomit. We don't know whose vomit it is. You can't really dust for vomit. But
The review for Shark Sandwich is like, we can't say it, but it's a 2-word review.
Mick Shrimpton exploded on
Yeah.
stage.
That's the guy.
and Viv Savage is in there. Have a good time all the time. That's my philosophy.
That's in our band bio for our band.
It's just, I watched it recently, fairly recently, and it's still freaking funny.
Yeah.
And the songs, "Give Me Some Money,"
yeah.
give me some money. So anyway, Spinal
So
Tap,
Good choice.
number 2.
You get another pick, I think.
You sure do.
Begin
Oh.
the next round.
Okay. Okay. So my third pick is different than the others. It's Rodney Carrington. And there's not a whole lot to say about Rodney Carrington.
Wow, that is
Were you
different.
able to find a song we could play?
them to me. Show them to me.
So not really.
Brown set those puppies free. They look a whole lot better without that sweater, baby. I'm sure you'll agree. Baby, you got 2 front bags. God bless you, woman.
Yeah.
Show them to me.
So, I mean, basically, he just writes a lot of songs about boobs. I mean,
Basically.
And his own
yeah, dear.
private
Yeah.
parts.
So he had his own
Oh,
ABC sitcom, which lasted
Now
2
imagine the
seasons. Okay, we can probably turn that off now.
It probably
'cause I don't
should.
really know what. He does continue to tour.
You say your boobs ain't bad. They're just a little long. Show them to me. Show them.
Oh, wait.
No, it's the very end of the song that is my favorite line, and I need to hear it.
This robe, show your clothes and a happy
This is one that I would have ranked higher, but I was afraid this would happen.
Which is Spanish for two titties, and I think we just all two Spanish.
Oh no!
Show them to me.
Oh no! Okay, so anyway, that's enough. I think we've been. So I don't really have a lot to say about Rodney Carrington. Except
What is there to say?
He likes to write songs about boobs, and they're pretty funny. And like this is what I'm talking about when you've got kind of an elevated sense of humor with Monty Python or even Spinal Tap or Weird Al is clever and all these plays on words, and then you've got boob jokes, and that's
Hey, Rodney Carrington will meet you
where you are. So anyway, I don't have a lot. Yeah, like I say, I don't have a lot to say, but Rodney Carrington's funny.
He is funny. I mean,
Funnier
there's no
than
doubt
some
about
of the other people on my list. Obviously, he was, so.
Oh gosh, we're still doing it.
Well, my husband loves Rodney Carrington. Is this the very end? He's not a bad singer
No, not
either,
bad.
really.
I mean, just as good as a lot of country singers now.
Yeah. So.
Oh man, I'm getting a headache.
Okay, so we should probably move on from Rodney
Next
Carrington.
pick, that'd be you. Ben.
So was Wheeler Walker Jr.
If
on your list?
you love your country.
Oh my gosh.
Say it one more time. I said, if you love your country,
He's holding us hostage with Rodney Carrington.
Love your country.
Yeah.
You stand your ass up.
Oh no.
Anyhow.
And there's the E.
Yeah.
So, Wheeler Walker Jr. was kind of the he's kind of the new Rodney Carrington.
Oh, is that? She's a country music fan.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I was introduced to that song by my child. She's like, Mom, listen to this. So the first, I was like, she's a what? What?
Yeah.
Hold on. And then, it's pretty fun.
So,
Don't listen to it with the kids in the car.
No, don't do that.
So he didn't make your long list, Wheeler Walker.
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, I guess we'll get down to and this is the last pick of the draft, huh? No,
No.
Beth's got one. So I'm going with a little SNL action here. Adam Sandler has released 5 comedy albums. They're a mixture of songs and skits. A little bit of a warped sense of humor sometimes. He uses a lot of different voices and voice inflections and characters in his songs to be funny. They're All Going to Laugh at You is the album that I kind of grew up with. I mean, it was a big time album when I was in school. It was probably the first album that I listened to a lot that Mom and Dad would not have approved of me listening to if they knew I was listening to it. It was released in 93. I was 13 years old, and a lot of the stuff on there was not age appropriate, probably.
But I bet super funny to a 13-year-old
yeah.
boy.
Gosh, it was incredible. Just thought it was cool because I was listening to something with explicit lyrics on it, But this is Lunch Ladyland, which is very clean.
The lunch lady.
This skit, him getting cracked up, is
Woke up in the morning, put on my new plastic glove. Served some reheated Salisbury steak. with a little slice of love. I got no clue what the chicken pot pie is made of. Just know everything's doing fine down here in Large Lady Land.
We got to get the sloppy Joes.
Yeah.
Sloppy Joes.
Well, I wear this net on my head.
So as we get there,
My red hair.
2 Adam Sandler albums have gone platinum.
Yeah.
2 more have gone gold. Once he started making movies, it started making millions and millions. He kind of quit making as many albums. His movies have grossed over $2 billion. So, I mean, you kind of understand why he quit making the albums.
What's your favorite Adam Sandler movie?
Ooh.
Everybody gets enough food down here.
I love Happy Gilmore. Not a big fan of Little Nicky, but I would say Waterboy's hilarious,
See,
though.
Billy Madison's my favorite.
That's a good one too.
Yep.
When that guy says, "I award you no points," and may God have mercy on your soul. Here it comes.
Ladyland, your dreams come true. Clouds made of carrots and peas. Mountains built of shepherd's pie. And rivers made of macaroni and cheese. But don't forget to return your trays and try to
I just see Chris Farley dancing
Oh, I
around.
No student can escape the magic of Large Lady Land. Oh, boy. Hoagies and grinders.
Here we go.
Hoagies and grinders. Hoagies and grinders. Navy beans. Navy beans. Navy beans. Hoagies and grinders. Hoagies and grinders.
Here we go.
Navy beans. Navy beans. Meatloaf sandwich. Sloppy dough. Sloppy dough. Sloppy dough. Sloppy dough. Sloppy dough. You done. Sloppy dough. One morning that I woke up to see all the
Yep. So Adam Sandler. Really, I mean, one of the guys that made SNL what for my generation, like
Yeah.
he would be like one of the greats of when I was in school watching Saturday Night Live. You know, he was in there with Farley and I think he and Dana Carvey overlapped a little bit, but just really funny guy.
Yeah.
Funny guy.
Oh boy.
Beth gets the last pick.
All right, so you know how my first 2 guys were Christians? I just want to say, if you listen to this podcast and you know me from church, and you don't know who Bo Burnham is, just don't. That's probably the best thing I can give you. So Bo Burnham, his whole deal is being offensive. And that's his shtick. He likes satire and offensive humor. It was incredibly hard to find a clip of any length that was playable on this. But he's an equal opportunity offender. I will say that about him. He gained a lot of success on YouTube in the 2000s. So, like, this song is called Love Is. And, like, one of the first, like, earlier in the song, he's like, love is taking that dive, then getting really comfortable and peeing in the pool. And, I mean, like, some of it's, like, funny like that. And then the rest of it, you're like, oh, my God, he just made, like, a JFK joke. And, like, or other jokes that you're like, oh, I shouldn't laugh at that, but I did. So, like, here's one of the only things I could find. Sorry.
The owner of the company that makes rape whistles, and even though you started the company with good intentions trying to reduce the rate of rape, now you don't want to reduce it at all, because if the rate declines, you'll see an equal decline in whistle sales. Without rapists,
Who's gonna buy your whistles?
yeah, love is all about whistles. Thank you.
And that's about. And we know we're gonna need to shut it off right there because it keeps going and it's also bad.
But now he also did the country pandering song.
which is also I couldn't really find a good clip.
It is really funny.
Like it's pretty
been
bad.
a while since I've listened to it. Is it pretty bad?
I was like, oh, I'll use that one, and then I couldn't.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll have to go back and listen to that.
Yeah.
It's been
Now
a while.
it's pretty darn funny, but I couldn't find
And
a lot
what's
that I
funny
could
about it is it's
true.
Yeah.
That is what's funny. Well, and I mean, like, yeah, this dude will make that. He has a whole song that he won't perform anymore.
Oh my god.
And I was gonna use a part of it, but he has a song called "The Perfect Woman," and it's about Helen Keller. They say that love is blind, but it's also deaf. And she was the perfect woman because she didn't talk so much. But he won't perform that song anymore because I guess there was a deaf girl who was bullied because of that song, and he feels bad about that.
Oh, okay.
And so he was like, he won't do that one anymore. Which is interesting to me, some of the boundaries that comedians have. But so I mean, he gained.
Well, nobody. I don't. Even comedians that make fun, they don't want kids to.
No,
get
they
bullied,
don't. They don't.
mean,
I think it's like as long as it stays within their show, they're like, this is where the joke ends and begins and ends, and taking it outside of there is not cool, right? You don't mean what you say. But in the 2000s, he was just a dude putting videos on YouTube from his attic in the burbs, and he got a lot of success on it. He has a Netflix special on YouTube from 1921. Wow, he's very old. Just kidding. He's actually much younger than both of the other guys. He's my age, which is not necessarily young anymore. We're regular adults now. But
what are the non-regular adults?
I feel that I'm a non-regular adult. I don't feel very adulty adult, but I am in the age of a regular adult. I'm not a young adult anymore. I'm just an adult. So there's like there's like 20. They're like your early 20s to, well, I say 18 to probably 28. Probably that tenure, you're a young adult. But beyond that, I think you're just an adult. And I've crossed that line. Okay. Anyway, that's Bo Burnham, and yeah, so if you don't know about him and you get offended by things, you should probably just leave that stone unturned. And that's it. That's the.
Well, so I guess we can discuss the ones that were on our list that we didn't mention, and honestly, the only one that we didn't mention in my top 9 is Afro Man.
Ah, yeah.
And Afro Man would have been in my top 3, but I knew I would not be able to find something probably that was appropriate for that. Like the closest thing would probably be Because I Got High, which would not get the explicit tag on us, but as an educator, I feel like that is not something that I should be promoting on the podcast. But again, that was another one that when I was in high school listening to is just hilarious. So Afro Man is the only one on my list that didn't get chosen. So we pretty much went down my list.
Yeah, the only one that didn't get chosen or mentioned on my list was Lonely Island.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I also had Lonely Island. And the only other one that did not get mentioned, I had Steve Martin. Gosh, that King Tut song is funny.
That is funny.
And he's also like a really good musician just in general. I mean, when you say like, I'm not doing comedy more, I'm going to pursue a bluegrass career. Yeah. When you have those options, because banjo is not easy. Right. Like, that's not something you just be like, I think I'm going to pick it up and learn a few chords. It don't work like that. And then, of course, I got to give a shout out to my dude, Froggy Fresh, and Moneymaker Mike. Because if you have not heard his other songs, I know we featured Christmas by Froggy Fresh on here at Christmas time, but The Baddest.
Why James crying?
Why dunked on? Why James crying? Because he just got dunked on. He's got a song called Street Rangers about them dressing up as Power Rangers and going into the park and like defending little kids who are getting bullied. It's just ridiculous. And he has a bunch of Halloween songs. He's got songs about Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, but he calls him Farty Krueger. And so it's very childish, but it's funny. Yeah. Yeah. So I love me some Froggy Fresh.
Saturday Night Live kind of had a couple of. I mean, there were probably some more options just off Saturday Night Live. I mean,
Jimmy Fallon had some.
Jimmy Fallon. I mean, you
stuff
could
too. Yeah.
Justin Timberlake.
The Blues Brothers came out of Saturday Night Live.
Brothers, yeah. I mean, I was thinking Justin Timberlake, but he did a lot of stuff with.
He did a lot of stuff
Adam
with Jimmy
Sandberg, but
Andy Sandberg.
Andy, did I say Adam?
Yeah, you did.
Blech.
Well, that was the Lonely Island,
Was it Lonely
technically,
Island?
right? I think that was a short featuring Lonely Island. Well, I don't know. Stuff in a Box is like, I think that might just be an SNL short. I don't know if that was Lonely Island or not. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
But they've there's been a couple of. I mean, Eddie Murphy's got some funny stuff actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a pretty good list just off of Saturday Night Live. You could almost make a best comedians off of Saturday or musicians that were Saturday Night Live people. So all right, so we have 9 and we've got to go from 9 to 5.
Working 9 to 5.
Okay, so now we've got our 9. Beth, can you read our 9, please?
Oh yeah. Ben has chosen Tenacious D, Monty Python, and Adam Sandler. Heather chose Flight of the Conchords, Spinal Tap, and Rodney Carrington. I have Weird Al, Ray Stevens, and Bo Burnham.
Okay, so in full disclosure, I had Flight of the Conchords as my number 1.
They were my number 3, so I
So
would.
I think they probably pretty much have to go over.
Yeah.
Where did you guys have Tenacious D? They were my number 2.
They were my number 2 also.
They were my number 3.
So they probably I feel like our top 4 or 5 may be pretty close.
Yeah,
It's going to be harder, I think, to rank them than to put the people over there.
I had Monty Python as my number 3.
I didn't have them on my list at all.
Wow.
2,
Okay.
3, 4, 5, 6. They were 6 for me.
Okay, so I guess we can put them on hold for a minute. I had Spinal Tap as my number 4.
They were my number 2.
They were my number 6.
That's probably. Do we have a maybe column, like a probably column?
We can make one. There it is. Found it.
And I had Weird Al number 5.
He was
You
9.
probably didn't have him. Or you had him?
He was 9.
So is he on the maybe column as well then?
I would say so. Ray Stevens was my number 7.
Did you have him at all?
8.
Oh boy. Our maybe column is growing. It's basically becoming the list.
Rodney Carrington was my number 6.
I didn't have him at all.
4.
And then I drafted Adam Sandler, but he was my number 8.
Wow.
Oh my
That
gosh.
went deep.
Went deep on my list for sure.
I didn't
And
have
you
him.
drafted second.
Was he on your list, Beth?
He wasn't.
So he is probably on the probably not list.
Yeah.
Poor lunch lady. She deserves better. Okay, and then Bo Burnham I did not have on my list. Spinal Tap. We didn't talk Spinal
We
Tap.
did. They're in the maybe list.
Okay, yeah. And then Bo Burnham was the last. I did not have Bo Burnham on my list.
He was 8. No, 7. 7.
Looks like the 2 maybes are like almost for sure then.
1, 2, 3. We had 3 maybes and 3 spots left.
Ooh.
So that might be that.
But ranking them.
The ranking is going to be. I mean, I'm cool with doing Spinal Tap, Weird Al, Ray Stevens.
Okay, I think yeah, we can put them in the top 5, and then we got to rank them.
Yep. Woof.
What was your number 1?
Weird Al. But
Weird Al was your
I'm not
number one.
married to it. This is going to be the hard one because we like them all. It's not. I don't think there's anybody on any of that made the top 5 that we think.
Right.
You know.
You did not have Monty Python in?
I didn't.
Were they on the maybe list?
No.
Were they one of the 3 that went in?
No. Whoops.
Ooh. I had him number 3. What did you have him?
6.
So you want to take one of the ones in that made the top
Who,
5?
who are the last 3 that we just put in?
Spinal Tap, Weird Al, and Ray Stevens.
Spinal Tap, Weird Al. I think Weird Al's probably got to go, right? I mean,
He was last.
I would say he does, but
man. Wow. Here was my, and I mean, Spinal Tap was in my top 5, so I'm not going to be broken up if Spinal Tap gets in. Okay. But did they do enough to constitute a group? I know they did this thing, they did this movie, but outside of this movie, did they tour?
Yes.
Did they do other albums?
Yes.
How many albums?
I'm looking it up.
And was it all original stuff?
Yes.
Like, I know about the soundtrack, and the soundtrack's hilarious.
Yeah, that's so funny.
The movie's hilarious. I'm just questioning, like Monty Python has decades of work together. They're definitely a long-standing group.
They were making material as recently as 2009.
Wow, really?
So they made an album
Yes.
of new stuff.
Yes. In 2009.
God.
So how many albums are we talking?
I don't know. I mean, this is their...
It's my concern. What my concern is that Spinal Tap is more of a cast that did a musical movie than a than a music act.
Oh, I would disagree.
You know what I mean?
They wrote all of their stuff. I mean, the three of them wrote all of the material, too.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I understand that, but I'm saying, like, were they a cast for a movie? Like did they make a movie?
The movie was originally based on a sketch comedy pilot. So that it was like a thing for a TV show, and then Rob Reiner made the movie out of that. In the years following the film's release, the actors have portrayed the band members at concerts and released music under the Spinal Tap name. They played at Wembley. I mean,
oh my gosh.
I guess it just seems weird to me that they would be above Monty Python just because Monty Python's catalog is so much bigger. I mean, it's huge. Like, Monty Python's catalog is massive because they had, the Flying Circus.
Yeah.
All those years of that, and then all those movies.
Are we talking about putting them in?
I'm wondering, like, I would consider maybe taking Spinal Tap out and Monty Python in that group of 3.
Wait, what are 3, 4, and 5 right now?
Well, we put in Spinal Tap, Weird Al, and Ray Stevens.
I mean, I'd take out Ray Stevens and put in Monty Python before.
Well, my concern, like, Ray Stevens is definitely a music act, right? Because he's got decades and decades in this too.
I mean, Spinal Tap is 100%. That's all they are, is a music act. They're not pulling stuff from sketches that they did in movies. Spinal Tap is a musical. It's a band. It's a legit band where everybody plays the instruments and writes the songs. They are 100% a musical act.
Well, like, I almost didn't put them on my list because I was just wondering, like, is it a musical act, or did they do a movie, make money off of the movie, maybe go on tour? It's not like the Blues Brothers. The Blues Brothers kept going. Like, they did the Blues Brothers thing for a long time.
Yeah.
The Monkees. They did the Monkees thing for a long time.
But
right?
I mean, but like Spinal Tap, their whole thing is it's a comedy musical act.
Yeah, it was a comedy musical movie.
No, but they're a band. They wrote the songs and performed them as the band.
Yeah, I understand, but I mean, like, to me, there's a longevity factor of, like, a musical act to me is something that is ongoing.
Yeah, but
like, there's the intention of this being an ongoing thing.
Right,
for
but you got Flight of the Conchords #1, which I think they're funny and I think they deserve to be there, but they don't have near the career longevity that Spinal Tap has had. Or Monty Python.
They had what? How many albums?
I don't know how many albums.
But I mean, that TV show only had a couple of seasons, right?
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying that they should come out at all. I'm just trying to...
Right. I think that Spinal Tap is more of a musical comedy act than Monty Python is. I think they are a troupe of actors that write songs for their sketches, for their
Flight
movies.
of the Conchords has 4 albums.
And they've been around since 1998.
Who has?
The Flight of the Conchords.
So, I mean, if that's what y'all want to do, that's fine. I just, to me, not putting Monty Python in seems a mistake to me.
I understand what you're saying.
And
I receive it.
But you don't agree.
I think that Spinal Tap is a more...
Where was Monty Python on your list?
7.
7.
Spinal Tap was 2.
I mean, I agree. That movie was funny. I agree. It was hilarious.
But they've kept on touring and appearing as Spinal Tap for, I mean, fairly consistently.
Well, let's check their tour dates. Spinal Tap.
Have they... And now they've written stuff outside of... Like, they have material that has been written outside of the movie. Yeah?
Their actual years active are 1979 to 84, 92, 2001, 2007, 2009, 2019. So they're putting out stuff. I don't know when the last
That doesn't
stuff...
necessarily mean they're putting
Are they
out
putting stuff out, or are they touring?
They could
or
be
making
touring.
appearances?
But I don't know, when was the last time that Monty Python put out a tour?
Well, Monty Python's defunct.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those guys are old. I mean, they're really old.
Mm-hmm. Well, so, I mean, Michael McKean.
So we're going to say
very
because they're 40 years of doing music is over with. Oh, well, they're not.
But they're
doing
not.
it
I
anymore.
don't know that they. I would call them actors, sketch actors, who provide music for their movies and their sketches. Spinal Tap is more of a musical act. They did make the movie, the mockumentary, to go on with this band that they created.
No, whoa, no. They made the band for the movie. I'm pretty sure the script came before the idea. Like they didn't get together and say, "Hey, let's be a musical act." They got together and said, "Hey, let's do this. Let's make a movie. Let's make a mockumentary." And then the music may have taken off. But I don't think the purpose was to, hey, let's form this musical act that we can go tour around. They wanted to make a funny movie.
Well, Monty Python, they weren't a band that they were more actors than they were musicians.
Right, but the intent was to be long standing.
Okay.
It
And
just
they're
makes a
both
difference
long
to me.
standing. Yeah. Yeah, but I mean,
Because like the skits or the TV show is something that goes on continuously. The movies, you're going to make multiple movies. The movie, like I think the intent was, we're going to make this movie, and hopefully we'll make a lot of money off of it, or whatever the case. I mean, what was Rob Reiner's role in the production skit or the writing and all that? I wonder. Like, I wonder who put them together. Who put the band together? That's interesting to me. Not that it matters, but it's interesting to me. But if y'all agree that Spinal Tap needs to go in and Monty Python doesn't, I mean, that's 2-1. I cannot outvote you.
yeah, the band first appeared on an ABC television sketch comedy pilot called The TV Show, starring Rob Reiner. The sketch, actually a mock promotional video for the song Rock and Roll Nightmare, was written by Reiner and the band, and included songwriter Loudon Wainwright on keyboards. and then the band became the fictional subject of the 84 mockumentary film. This is Spinal Tap.
So I mean that does kind of prove my point that they put this thing together for it. It was for originally it was a sketch, and then hey, that was funny. Let's do a movie.
Right,
but which is fine. I mean, I'm just saying. I feel validated in what I feel. That's not to say that I'm going to get my
your
vote
feelings are
changed.
valid. Yeah.
So, but anyway, so if y'all want to keep Monty Python out and Spinal Tap in, y'all certainly have the 2 votes to do that. But I would feel more comfortable with Monty Python in and Spinal Tap out.
Honestly, I would feel better with Monty Python in and Ray Stevens out.
Here's the
Just because they were higher than Ray Stevens, Monty Python was on my list.
I mean,
So we all had Ray Stevens. Yeah?
yes.
And only 2 of the 3 of us had Monty Python. I don't.
Did we all have Spinal Tap?
I think so. I had them. I just don't. Monty Python's not my favorite kind of comedy.
Yeah. And I understand that because, like,
Weird Al's not for you.
Right.
Yeah.
I had Weird Al dead last just because I think his stuff is clever, but I don't just, I go, okay, that's clever, that's funny, and go on with my life because I don't think he's that funny. It's just a matter of what you find funny,
yeah.
I guess. But
We seem to be at an impasse.
So 2 of them are, well, we don't know because now she's trying to get Ray Stevens out.
Yeah.
What's the one that's definitely in?
The one? What do you mean?
There's 3 options. 2 of them we're trying to get out. One of them we're not.
Weird Al, I guess,
Weird
is the
Al.
one that's
Weird
solidly
Al, oh.
in.
Okay.
But that's the one Heather's like, I like that one.
Well,
the
he's
least.
in my top 5, so my top 5 was Flight of the Conchords, Tenacious D, Monty Python, Spinal Tap, and Weird Al. That was my top 5. But if I'm going to have this problem with Spinal Tap not being a musical act, a full-blown musical act, then I can't really say I need to push them in over Ray Stevens. That wouldn't make sense.
Yeah.
So, and truth be told, Ray Stevens has a much bigger, I would say, even following than, well, maybe not Monty
Worldwide.
Python, but certainly they do Spinal Tap for sure.
maybe.
And
Are you literally trying to put Ray Stevens in over Spinal Tap right now?
They're both.
well, I'm saying if I'm going to be consistent about Spinal Tap not being a quote unquote, long-standing musical act,
Yeah.
then
What makes them
Then
not
Adam-
a musical act, though? They're a band that
they are a musical. But I mean,
that writes their own songs and performs them. That's a band.
like I said, it's my opinion.
This is a very like who's on first thing for me. I'm like sitting here just like I don't really know how this is about to shake out. This is
So here, okay, let's do this. Let's just nip this in the bud. We'll have a vote if Spinal Tap is eligible to be a music act, and if the answer is yes, they stay in, and if the answer is no, then they
Okay.
don't.
okay.
Okay, so I say no, they're not a musical act.
I say yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're in
Okay.
because if
Okay.
that's the vote, then they're in. So that should be the 5,
The one we have.
the top 5 that we had.
Okay. Okay.
All right. So now, oh my God.
Now we gotta
we're
rank
gonna 'em. Okay. So our top 5 are Flight of the Conchords, Tenacious D, Spinal Tap, Weird Al, and Ray Stevens. So
I feel like the top 3.
I feel like the top 2 are solid. We didn't even have a question about Flight of the Conchords and Tenacious D.
Oh, okay.
Now it's the order. Are we good with that order? I am.
Because
You're not.
they were my number
No.
one. They were my number one, and they were your number one.
They
Yeah,
were.
I thought they were.
They were. But I tucked myself into anything. And if you look at who has more funny songs,
Oh gosh.
than between Tenacious D and.
Now, I'm not saying the funnier songs. I'm saying who's got a bigger catalog of funny songs.
I don't think it's about that though.
It is to me.
Well,
Okay.
okay.
I think Flight of the Conchords have more consistently funny songs.
More consistently funny.
Sometimes Tenacious D is too gross for me.
Is there a song funnier than Karate
Yep.
that Flight of the Conchords do?
I mean, it's pretty darn funny.
That is funny.
But
Which Flight of the Conchords song is funnier than Karate?
they're different kinds of funny.
Yeah.
That's not
They're-
what I
No,
asked.
they are. You can't. It's like apples and oranges, really.
I like oranges better.
You're so weird. So
So what you're saying is you can't name
Flight of the
a Flight
Conchords was my number one, and it was your number one.
But
It just
now
didn't
I've
get
changed
drafted.
it, and
well,
now they're
you don't
my
get
number
to
two.
change it, and then so who was your number one?
my number one was Weird Al.
Okay.
What was your number two?
It's not important.
What was it?
Tenacious D. It was Tenacious D.
But I can talk myself into anything. I like Flight of the Conchords better because
Were they the number 3 on your list?
they were.
Where was Tenacious D on your list?
3. Spinal Tap was 2.
Well, you're getting Spinal Tap.
Not 2.
Quit grapping.
You get what you get, and you don't throw a fit. So okay.
Okay, fine.
who's-
I'll lose this one too. So you can have Flight of the Conchords 1, Tenacious D 2, and then we're between Spinal Tap, Weird Al, and Ray Stevens.
Yeah.
I would like probably Weird Al 3.
I'm good with that. I know you're not, Heather, probably.
But I grew up. Amish Paradise was a huge hit when I was a kid too. So like I know that whole album. I know Gump. Instead of which was a
gosh,
parody
yeah.
of Lump.
Yeah.
Gump sat alone on a bench on a park. My name is Forrest. He casually remarked.
Oh my gosh. Okay, yeah. I mean, I know I'm outvoted. I think that Weird Al is very brilliant and clever, but I think Spinal Tap is funnier.
And then out of principle, I would like Ray Stevens.
BS. No way. No way.
Oh gosh.
No. But
this
she's
is
going to vote
tough.
for Ray Stevens because she picked him.
Well, here's the thing.
Oh look, it's another week where Ben only has one in the top 5.
But you've had
Surprise! Surprise! Surprise!
look. It be like that sometimes. Trust me, I know.
It'd be like that all the time recently.
Okay. Here's the thing about
Where did you have Ray Stevens?
4,
Where did you have Spinal Tap?
6,
You didn't have Ray Stevens at all?
He was 8.
and I pulled Spinal Tap back on my list a little bit. I don't go so far as your point. I don't go so far as your point.
Like I agree,
But-
but it's easy to not agree.
No, I don't agree with you that they're not a musical act, but if you're comparing them to Ray Stevens as the category of a musical comedy act, I mean that's solely what Ray Stevens is.
It's
But
solely
those
what Spinal Tap is.
I understand you, but
No, no,
those guys they're also the that combination of guys is also like they're in A Mighty Wind as something else. They're in this other movie as something else. Like
Yeah,
I
but
understand that Spinal Tap is what it is,
And they
but
go do their own
that's
things
not
all
the
the
only
time.
That
thing they
doesn't
do.
matter, though. None of that matters.
It kind of does.
But it does if we think it does. Because
No, it doesn't.
that's how we're judging things.
It doesn't make any difference
It
what
does-
they do on
no,
the
no, no.
side.
No, you're not listening. It doesn't matter to you. But it does matter to us.
Well, that's dumb.
I receive what you're saying.
So is that it?
No.
Out of principle,
What do you mean?
out of principle, I would move Ray Stevens up. and
That
move
is
Spinal
so
Tap
dumb.
down.
out of principle, what principle?
Yeah.
Out of the principle that Ray Stevens, his
I didn't get my
entire
way.
his entire career is being a comedy music act. That is his shtick. That is his only
But it's
shtick.
the best one. We're talking about the best one. We're not talking about that he's just done it longer. That doesn't matter.
Well, I would say that, being able to have been doing it since the early 1960s and still doing it We're talking almost 70 years
Are you
of
saying
work.
so you're saying that his stuff is funnier than the Spinal Tap stuff as a comedy musical act?
I'm saying I still laugh at Mississippi Squirrel Revival.
You still laugh at you still laugh at the Spinal Tap stuff too. You just sat there and laughed at it at this table.
Well, these are the 5 funniest we're talking about. I mean, they're
know,
all funny.
But you cannot tell me that
They're all
Ray
funny.
Stevens is funnier than Spinal Tap.
Again, it's apples and oranges. You can't really compare those two.
Well, I can tell you one is funnier than the other.
Well,
they may be different.
That's just
but one
like
is funnier
your
than
opinion,
the other.
man.
Yes.
okay, we got to decide, so we have to vote.
Ugh,
I vote Ray
Lord.
Stevens number 4, Spinal Tap 5.
I vote Spinal Tap 4, Ray Stevens 5.
Well, I vote Ray Stevens for.
That's so stupid. Okay.
I love Spinal Tap, but I mean, I just think that's what I pick anyway. So that's my vote.
Okay, so we have a top 5.
Ooh, ooh. All right. So our final ranking for the best musical comedy act ever is number 1, Flight of the Conchords, 2, Tenacious D, 3, Weird Al, 4, Ray Stevens, and 5, Spinal Tap. Heather, say it. We have the list. I think it's a good list.
It's a list.
And as always, we want to thank you for listening. We want you to find us on social media for Twitter. That is at the Music List
PC.
PC.
Which today was not.
We were also on Instagram,
The Real Music List pod.
and we're also you can find us on Facebook. Look for the Music List Podcast. We have a group, and we also have a page. So like the page, get all the updates and that kind of stuff there. Please like, share, comment, review, the whole good deal. If it's a good review, leave us 5 stars, not 1, please. That would be great.
Yeah, if you want us to leave a bad review, just don't tell us.
But thanks for listening, and we'll be back in 2 weeks.
Thanks for joining us on the Music List.